Hey, welcome to Thought Leader Live. If we are meeting for the first time, my name is Chris Pyron. Super excited to be with you this evening. We were doing this event from Dallas, Texas this go around, and this is just an AMA style event. You can ask us anything as it relates to church production and things like that. We've got some amazing folks on the panel lined up this evening that I'm super excited to get into some conversation with. But before we jump over and introduce them, I would like to introduce my partner in crime, Mr. Daryl Sutton, who is manning all things in the second stage area for us.
All right. Hey, thanks, Chris. So welcome to tonight's live event. As Chris said, here in Dallas, we're super excited that you're here. Few little housekeeping things that I want to throw out at you. If you're watching us on Instagram, we're so glad you're there. We want to make sure, though, that you understand that any chat that happens inside of Instagram is just going to live there. If you're interested in actually throwing a question to the individuals that are here with us tonight into the live event, you're going to need to go over to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is TL_Connect. Pretty easy. We try to keep it all about the same. So jump in there, ask your questions. We do have one of our thought leaders who is actually manning the chat. And so Sweet Pete is in California tonight, and he's going to be interacting with you there in the YouTube chat. He's going to be throwing that to us here on the main stage, and then I'll be pushing those to the guys out front. I think that's about all I've got right now. But again, if you're in Instagram, make sure that you understand any comments that you put in there or questions will not come to us in the main stage. So with that, I'm going to kind of throw it back to Chris. And Chris, let us know who's here tonight.
Absolutely. We have a couple of amazing individuals in the church production community. I am so honored and so excited to be joined tonight by Mr. Bryan Bailey and Mr. Z Immerman. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Super excited about this. It's going to be fun. So by way of introductions, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. We've known each other for a little while in different ways. But Bryan, why don't you start and tell everybody where you're from and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Bryan Bailey. I'm the director of media at Prestonwood Baptist Church right here in Dallas, Texas, in Plano. And grew up here in Plano. Was able to serve at Prestonwood for a little while, then up in Northwest Arkansas at Cross Church and down at First Baptist Dallas, and then back at Prestonwood again. So that's where we are right now.
Gotcha. Very cool. Neil, how about you?
Yeah, so I am Z Immerman. I'm the engineering director at Christ Fellowship Church in Palm Beach Gardens. They're in South Florida. So I oversee signals and systems for them and all of their campus locations, which is always an adventure, but also a lot of fun and a great privilege. I got my start in sports video, so my background is mostly in video. I do moonlight occasionally as a lighting guy. I'm not a very good audio guy. Don't ask me to come mix your service. You will not be happy with the results, I promise.
So visuals only,
yeah.
No auditory.
I try really hard to stay out of the audio.
It's good to know your limits.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Stay in your lane, know your lane, and
Yep.
do it well, right? So cool. Well, I want to start off with something a little bit fun. You guys have your phones with you.
Yes.
All right. This is the first question. While we're waiting for folks to put some questions in the chat, I want you guys to open up your podcast app and tell me your favorite podcast, Neil. What have you been listening to?
Let me pull it up here. So I don't listen to many podcasts.
Okay.
There's like 4 here, but I would say my favorite right now is called A Hot Dog is a Sandwich. And
Definitely not familiar with that one.
It's
okay.
it's 2 cooking personalities, and they debate on food things.
Okay.
And I find it very entertaining.
A hot dog is a sandwich.
It's like one of the topics they did was, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Sure.
Or like, is the ocean a soup? Was one of the topics.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes for great like mindless driving music.
Yeah.
Just background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is a hot dog a sandwich?
I don't remember because it was like a 4-part series. I think the answer they landed on is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but what do you
yes,
think?
it is.
It is. Daryl said
Daryl has weighed in and
Pretty
decided
solid on this.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It is 100%.
Yes.
Daryl's put a lot of thought into this.
We had a debate on the platform.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's right. We did. I do remember that. Yeah. Put it in the chat. Is a hot dog a sandwich? We'll revisit this later. I'm just curious to see what happens.
Great.
So, Bryan, what about you? What are some podcasts you've been digging on?
Man, I am a Blurry Creatures fan.
I love Blurry Creatures.
Blurry Creatures, it sucked me in.
Yes.
Started with Bigfoot, and it's gone from there.
What's the premise?
We don't have a whole lot of time here, but
Okay.
it is a lot of the they call it the blurry verse of it turned out to be a lot of biblical stuff, actually. So you're talking about Nephilim, you're talking about things from the Bible that typically we would just skip over.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yep.
Genesis 6 is a big one in there. And they get some amazing people coming on with a lot of biblical knowledge and stuff. And then it's aliens, and it's Dogman. It's all the weird stuff that is kind of on the fringe, but then they're pulling it into like real world stuff. It's really
Interesting.
stuff. It's things that I would have never. Some of these things I would have never like gotten into at all, and now I'm completely hooked.
Yeah, I was told about it by a friend, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go check it out. And I think it was around the Nephilim.
Oh, yeah.
What was particularly the episode that came up in conversation? I'm like, okay, and I went and listened to it. I was like, oh yeah, this is good.
yeah.
And then it was the next episode, and the next, and it's in my list as well. So totally get that. That's awesome. So I'll play along if anybody's interested. One
yeah?
that I
Hey,
have,
what are you listening to?
I have been devouring Midsummer Maniacs. So
Do tell.
okay, Midsummer Murders is possibly the longest running series on the BBC, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery, kind of like the cozy mystery. Think like Agatha Christie kind of style stuff, but it's very much more present day. Poirot was back, turn of last century. For those of us born in the 1900s.
That hurts.
But it's it all centers around the town of Midsummer, and it's some murder of the week kind of show. But it's been on for like 27 seasons or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So this podcast, Midsummer Maniacs, it's a husband and wife duo who are rabid fans of the show, and they basically go through and dissect the whole series episode by episode. Now they're not even halfway through the show run. They started with the pilot episode back in 2015, I think, and they're still chewing through.
Wow.
I think they're still making new episodes today, if I remember correctly.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So it's a show about the show.
It's a show about the show.
Wow.
Yeah. And he actually, I think he and I could be friends in real life because he understands enough about audio.
Yeah.
So this is a trope that you always see when someone's on stage and they step up to the microphone to make an announcement, and there's always that feedback that comes, that feedback sound effect that we always hear. And he just loses his mind. He's like, that's not how that works. Microphones don't feedback when you step up to them like that. So it's great. It's super fun. So, well, hey, we actually have a question that has popped up in the chat for you guys already.
fantastic.
So let's just dive in. I think we got people with questions that want answers.
So
let's
Brother
jump in.
Sean has a great question. And for those of you that are watching, this is how it works. You throw the question in the chat, and we're going to throw it up for the guys. So I'm just going to throw it over to you, and I'm interested to hear the question on this one. So there you go.
What's your favorite thing to grill, griddle, or smoke?
Oh. Yeah.
Yes, all the things.
I mean,
is that an answer? Can I say all the things?
Sure.
so many things.
Yeah.
I'm on a kick with the Mexican pulled pork.
Oh yeah.
That's hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm in a very sad situation right now where my HOA does not allow us to have a grill
What?
because they're
Oh.
they're worried about it. So it's apartment
What kind
life,
of
right?
communist place do you live in?
So they don't want you to have propane inside. I'm moving later this summer. It'll be fine.
Because of
But
the HOA? I mean, is that,
It sounds like
I would.
reason
Yeah,
enough.
absolutely.
I'd be like, I'd be
That's
leaving
not
town.
important.
Anyway.
But previous to that, I loved to grill because it's easy and you can make stuff taste great. I'm gonna give a non-conventional answer because I feel like everybody's like meat,
Meat, yeah.
like which great, like love me a great steak or like something that's been well seasoned. My very favorite thing to grill is sweet potato.
Yeah.
So
grilled sweet potato is great.
I found this recipe a while back, and it's sweet potato medallions. You boil the sweet potatoes, chop them up into medallions, grill them, and then you toss them in like honey, lime, cilantro vinaigrette.
Yeah.
So good.
Does sound good.
So good.
It does sound good. My favorite thing to grill. I'm gonna Sean. I'm gonna answer all three parts of your question. Grill, similar to you, is actually a vegetable, not meat. I love grilled zucchini.
Oh, okay.
We'll take zucchini, cut them into long planks.
Yeah.
A little olive oil, salt,
I
pepper, garlic.
think I've actually had your grilled zucchini. It's very good,
It's
as I remember.
possible you have. I've probably made it before. Grill. What was the second one? Oh, griddle. Pancakes. I have an ancient, I think it's like 1930 something cast iron pan.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can cook eggs in the thing. It's like glass on the bottom. It's great. But pancakes. Kids love pancakes,
Yeah.
and that's my favorite thing to fire up the cast iron griddle for. Smoke. Anything that will take smoke, I guess. Pulled pork is great. I love doing pork. Love doing ribs. Love doing brisket. Trying to think if I've smoked anything unconventional.
So non-meat smoke, biscuits.
Yes.
Smoked biscuits
Yeah.
in a cast iron skillet. Mm-hmm. Totally different flavor than your typical biscuits.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
easy.
Yeah. I smoked cheese for the last time this past winter when it was cool enough outside. I did a
don't
cold smoke.
understand that.
You don't understand smoked cheese?
I understand like the smoked cheese dip. Are you talking about the cheese?
No, I took a block of cheddar and put it in the smoker.
Oh, cheddar?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took a block of Gouda too. I did smoke Gouda
Yeah.
just to see if I could do it. It was wintertime,
No,
so it was
people
still
are doing
cold.
the
so I did.
smoked cream cheese thing, and I don't.
Oh
understand.
yeah, I don't love that thought process.
No,
Yeah, I'm not down with that.
I don't even like cream cheese in my sushi,
Not in sushi.
much less
Dairy and
smoked.
fish, but that's a whole other conversation.
No,
so.
thank
That
you.
wasn't part of the question.
So
Sorry.
there you go, Sean. There's your answers. So we actually have another question that I hear is aimed at Brian. So
Oh, Daniel-
it
how
starts
did-
with
how
at
does
Pres-
Daniel-
Page. Hey, he's right here in town too.
Hey,
Yeah,
buddy.
it is.
Hey, Daniel, come over later.
Oh, it's a real question. Good.
It's a real question.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't know if Daniel was
You want me to read
trapping
it?
me or something.
Yeah, Daryl, can you read it for us? I can't quite see this latter half of it.
Yeah,
here.
it's going to be a little difficult.
At
Hold on.
Prestonwood, what led to the decision to transition your broadcast cameras to automated PTZ setups? When
There
we
you go.
visited you a little bit ago, I noticed that.
Yeah,
What was that about?
We did that, and there were several things that led to it. Our room is not super well suited for technology, like in the room, so much. We have a lot of technology in the room, but cameras stick out, and especially camera operators stick out. And in our room, it was very difficult for us to find really good camera positions and angles the way that we wanted it. The other thing that we were lacking that everybody wants these days is movement, some motion to it for some energy. And the robotics and PTZs got us all of that. PTZs is only a little part of it. We have 4 PTZs that are the Sony FR7s. The rest of them are all robotic elements. So Mark Roberts Motion Control is who we went with for that. And so we have Sony P50s on the Mark Roberts heads. We've got 3 of them set up where they're on 20-foot tracks, so we can go side to side, up and down, pan, tilt. On top of that, so we have essentially 9 cameras that are run robotic like that, and we have 3 camera operators to run those 9 cameras.
Oh,
so
really?
each operator has a station. Each station can get to all the cameras, but we assign each operator 3 cameras. So they've got kind of a top priority camera, and the other 2 cameras they can easily recall settings on. But the cameras, because they're lower profile, when you walk into the room, you don't see the cameras so much. The motion that we're able to get now is fantastic. And maybe even especially for the sermon, if you watch one of our sermons online now, you'll notice like you've just got this really nice movement. You've got it.
Yeah.
You can get down right between a couple people's shoulders and come up out of that. So it's a more immersive feel as well. So you're getting the perspective of the congregation. For the volunteers, if you've never run a camera before, which most of our volunteers haven't, it's way easier to jump on a joystick than it is this massive, machine that you've never touched before. Not
Sure.
to mention, you're standing in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people that are staring at the back of your head, and it's super intimidating. So there's a lot of things that really have gone really well with the move over to robotics.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Love
That's
that.
awesome.
Neil, have you guys integrated any robotics at your main broadcast location?
Yeah, so we did a similar thing where we moved all of our main cameras over to PTZs for a very similar reason. So our primary 2 cameras used to sit in the middle of the room
Oh, yeah.
at front of house.
Yeah.
And there was a section of 500 people that sat right behind front of house that were staring through.
Right.
You know, you couldn't see the stage, so you had to pick one screen or the other, and that was always really challenging. So moving to PTZs made the sightlines in the room so much better.
It's a big deal.
For so many people.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was huge for us was the ability to recall, because with presets, it's great because you can recall positions, but for us it was great because you could recall focus.
Yeah.
So being able
yeah.
to know
Yeah.
that you can hit this button, it's going to nail a focal length on the lens and get you really, really close versus having to kind of, reset your focus, especially as we move towards a shallower depth of field
Yep.
look. That, for volunteers especially,
It's huge.
has been such
Yeah.
an asset.
So there's an argument that I get into with certain people, and they know who they are, that it's the idea that you can't teach composition,
Sure.
which I agree with in certain ways, but I believe what we can do is show good composition
Right.
to where they can repeat it, and then they start to learn that simply because they are, generating these shots now with robotics that we have pre-programmed. And so we're essentially saying, here's a good shot. This is part of the
Yeah.
shot catalog, and you just recall it, and it's going to be great. And then over time, if they catch on, that's fantastic. If they don't, at least they've got the presets there to recall, and we're still good to go. But the robotics have changed that for us in the same way. Just like, here's the shots. We programmed these during the week. If you use these, you're going to be in good shape. It's a good starting point.
Let me ask you this, because this is something that we've found. One of the other, this was like an unplanned advantage of moving to robotics, but we found it's so much easier to recruit younger volunteers
Oh.
because they pick it up
Yeah.
so fast
like
because
playing
it
Xbox.
plays like a video game.
Yep.
We have been blown away.
With like no training.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
we-
they can just sit down and it's like, they're like, oh my gosh, like you're 14 and you're a fantastic camera operator.
We've got a school, the Prestonwood Christian Academy, and they'll do their chapels and some other stuff in the main room, and we'll get their students to come and man different positions and stuff as kind of a training deal.
Yeah.
And the first time we did that with the robotics, we pulled a couple of these guys in and spent maybe 5 minutes showing them, and then they were immediately the best camera operators that we had.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And it gives a really easy spot for students to get started
It does.
in big church.
And honestly, I think the smaller the church, the more value there is in the robotic systems.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times the smaller rooms can use more of the all-in-one PTZs.
Yep.
Because a lot of those have amazing lenses on them anyway. And so you're potentially not having to use as many volunteers. You're able to put cameras in more discrete locations. People are going to complain less than they would before. And it's, if you need to, one person can run multiple cameras on top of that.
Yep, that's awesome. Cool. Well, we have another question that has popped in, and it is from Kyle Bowman. If you had to pick one piece of gear in any discipline to use at church, what would it be and why?
Oh.
We were talking about this before the stream started, like what's your favorite piece of gear and your Pelican EDC kind of thing. So if something applies to that, so I guess it means any discipline, audio, lighting, video.
Yeah. Oh, that hurts my head.
One piece.
That's tough. I have a lot of pieces of gear that I like. I will say, so we were talking beforehand, like what's your favorite piece of gear in your Pelican?
Right.
I'm bringing this up because I'm stalling so I can think
So
of
you
a
can get
real
another,
answer.
you get the
Doing
answer
good.
you really want to get.
Yeah.
Favorite piece of gear in the Pelican is Blackmagic 5-inch Video Assist 4K monitor. It's a preview monitor. It's a waveform monitor. It has SDI and HDMI. You can use it to capture. You can use it to playback. It is a fantastic little Swiss Army knife for the price.
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny because I didn't have a specific maker model, but for the Pelican case, it was either going to be a Kimber 1911 of some type.
Absolutely,
But that's
100%.
not exactly what we're talking about here. Or a really high quality test monitor, like that for troubleshooting, and like a Swiss Army knife. Like,
Yeah.
we always need to figure out, why isn't that working?
Yep.
Let's interrupt the signal flow and see what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Which is something that I'm afraid has been lost in up and coming generations, is the ability to troubleshoot.
Sure.
And so having the right tools to do that is vital. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So Kyle, maybe we're answering your question as a test monitor. Our favorite piece of gear is a test monitor,
Maybe that's just a sign of how old
which
we are.
that sounds really lame, but I think that's a really great
It is
answer.
not lame. It's amazing, and everybody should have one. Otherwise, I mean, from my lighting background, I'm just a huge Grand MA fan, and it's mainly because of the versatility of what I can do on a Grand MA. Every lighting console has specific ways in which they like to do things, but the Grand MA, I've been able to use it in the past to keep things as simple as possible for a volunteer to use, and then we go as crazy as we do for our Gift of Christmas show, where we're live tracking flying elements and stuff like that through different types of information that comes in it. So, but I'm a little biased.
There you go. That's cool. That's cool. Mine's a battery. I came across a battery backup a couple years ago. I don't remember what the TSA limit is on like how many milliamp hours you can carry in a battery on a carry-on, but this is like 100 milliamp hours less. It's like if the threshold's
on the
8,000, it's 7,900. That gets right there. But it's USB-A, USB-C, in and out. Plus, it has a barrel connector on it, a barrel port on it as well, with a jumper, and it's variable voltage from 1.5 volts all the way up to 48 volts.
That's nice.
Oh, wow.
So if I need 24 volts for something, I need 12 volts for something. Yeah, that's solved a lot of problems for me. I need power, but battery. So there you go, Kyle. Test monitors and batteries.
This is what
That was
people
not the
logged in
answer you were
for.
hoping
And
for, I'm
this
certain.
is what you came for.
This is good
Yeah.
TV, folks.
This is great. So, well, let's take a quick break real fast. Before we do that, though, I'm going to toss it back to Daryl. So, Mr. Sutton, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Hey, so if you're not familiar with Thought Leader is, about 4 or 5 years ago, we started a conversation within the church production community. And the idea was, how can we bring those who serve every weekend, week in and week out in church production? How do we bring them together for collaboration, for community building, and sharing of ideas? That's what we call Thought Leader. Thought Leader Connect specifically, we created a platform, which is a place where we can come together, and essentially it's small groups for those who serve in church production, but it's the ability to get on a kind of a regular rhythm, if you will, of communicating on an every other week rhythm. We do it 18 weeks out of the year, kind of break it up into 2 different sessions. For more details, check out tl-connect.com, or we have some of our Thought Leader crew who's going to talk a little bit about it right now.
If people aren't aware of Thought Leader or what Thought Leader is, they need to know about it. They need to be part of it. We call it mentor circles because it's everybody that's, it's kind of mentoring everybody. And so we'll ask a question and you get 20 different perspectives on it because we all have the same questions. And you can learn some of people are a little bit further ahead in their journey and have some more solutions, and you're probably a little bit further ahead than other people. It is a community that literally thinks like you do. You might be at your church and you're the only production guy and you feel like you're alone, or you're the weirdo or the socially awkward one, and you probably are. We love you. Come be part of the community and you'll become better. And your craft better as a person, better as a leader, and better as a teammate.
I'm Brian Worcester. I am the Creative Director of Experiences for Church of the Highlands. This is the 15th year of Motion. I've been involved since the beginning, so working on stage design when it was back at our broadcast campus, and then we were there for 4 or 5 years, and every year we would just rent in a few more lights and some truss here and change our screens up a little bit. But then we eventually moved to the arena. Been part of the team that's designed the stage every year since.
I'm Griffin McCravey. I'm the broadcast lighting director for Church of the Highlands. I've been involved in Motion from a production standpoint for about 5 years now. Started out as a lighting assistant, getting to kind of learn how to pull off a rig like the one behind me. Highlands was a home church to me growing up, and so I had the privilege to sit in these seats that we're surrounded by and get to experience Motion as a student, and then get to step into a role where I actually lead some teams and create the experience that students in today's world get to come in and experience at Motion.
This is the 15th year of Motion, and Motion is a student conference all about taking junior high, high school, and college students and pushing them forward into a lifestyle of motion for the church, for Jesus, putting their faith into motion, making a difference in their campuses and in their families and in their communities.
From a design standpoint this year, seating students nearly 270 in the room, almost to the sides and even slightly behind the rig itself. We wanted to try to put some curve in the design somehow. So the design very fluidly kind of curves along the edges to allow for not a harsh angle where someone goes from seeing the stage to not seeing the stage, as well as trying to keep the design fairly open. So we're really excited about that. We're really hoping that students are still able to connect no matter where they're seated with the design layout this year.
This year in the rig, we've got Chauvet MK3 profiles, we've got some Color Strike M's, and then the Storm 2 and Storm 3 beam washes.
This year specifically, we really wanted to play in the idea of an all-profile rig, something we've never really tried before. The MK3 was a great platform option for us from Chauvet because I was able to get that wide zoom that I want to get some really washy looks in this room, in this 270-degree seating scenario, while also being able to cut through an arena-sized room, really get a nice tight beam, and even get gobos in focus, all that good stuff for in-air effects. The Strike M, I really love the light. We kind of tried to use them for a different deployment method this year for Motion Conference. In the past, they've always kind of been a strobe workhorse for us, and they're still doing that this year as well. Even though it's a bright light, I'm able to manipulate it in a way where I can get really low light coming from the sides. It's using a really bright light to make the room darker, but you're really actually able to cut down on light that you're throwing everywhere else, and in turn kind of get just the focus on what you want it to be on.
I love the ring around the lens on the Storm 2. It is actually my favorite thing about the light. And then with the Storm 3, the way the two rings can focus independently, in this room, they punch so hard, and it is such a, it really is a cutting dynamic effect. It's pretty cool. Every year that we do this event, there is some moment that we get into the process where I just have this, something happens and I get in the room and I get a little verklempt. I get a little choked up thinking about, what's about to happen. I love the feeling in the room when you can hear the crowd outside, but they're not really in the room yet. I love that energy, that tension, and that I love knowing what they don't know.
My favorite thing about Motion is getting to have the unique viewpoint of being a student who used to sit in this seat and put some of that heart and some of that energy into hopefully what students get to experience this weekend. There really is there's no vantage point like it.
I think the thing I love the most about Motion has changed as the years go by. More and more gear, more lights is always super fun. But for me, I have 2 of my kids are here now. So one of them, that's his third motion, and then the other, it's his first. So I think for me, that's the coolest part, is now that this thing that their dad has been working on for so long, they are now on the receiving end of it. They've just not been watching me leave the house in the morning. So that part's pretty cool.
Jump in both feet. You're not going to be disappointed. It's a group of other individuals just like yourself.
If I had a friend considering joining Thought Leader, I would really ask them why they're stuck at the considering point.
Thought Leader is a tribe of people who are passionate about leading well.
The one thing that I value about my experience so far with Thought Leader is intentional relationships and conversations with people who are going through the same struggles I'm going through, that we can share how to get through things together and grow together.
It's a really amazing opportunity to meet like-minded people who really care, and we're all going after the same thing, to have people be impacted.
Thought Leader to me would be community and just like a resource.
What I value most about being in Thought Leader is really the consistent community.
Thought Leaders has impacted my leadership style by being able to learn from others how to be a healthy leader so that I can lead our team in a healthy way.
I have learned to think about the people first, gear second. If the people are good, if the people are pastored well and stewarded well, everything else will fall into place.
If you value your health as a leader and your team and the way that they grow, to take the time that it takes to invest in these relationships is so worth it.
Beforehand, I might have tunnel vision, blinders on, you could say, from just things that I maybe wasn't able to connect with for various reasons, but hearing it from other leaders, having those conversations back and forth has opened up my view and allowed me to correct some things in my own ministry that has really taken it to the next level.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Being in this group, being in this community has definitely shaped the trajectory of how I operate.
All Thought Leaders does is bring that potential to the surface. It helps you grow more and more, and it's free, so why wouldn't you do it? You have nothing to lose.
If I had one word to describe Thought Leader with, it would be community.
Life-giving.
Community.
It's encouraging.
Intentional.
Community.
Trusting.
Engaging.
I'm going to give you 3 words: church, production, family.
All right, so that tells you a little bit about Thought Leader and what we do and who we are. And if you're interested, please check out the website. We've got a lot of good information there, and you can join up straight from the website. Again, the website's down below, tl-connect.com. And so if you're new watching the live event at this moment, if you're on Instagram, we're so glad you're there. That is kind of a viewing-only space. You can comment inside the chat down below, but unfortunately, that chat does not get to us here in the studio. This is an AMA-style event, so it's an Ask Me Anything. We want your questions. We need your questions, and we want to respond and give you the information that you're looking for. So if you're interested in throwing a question to the guys here live in the studio, you'll need to go over to our YouTube channel, which is TL_Connect on YouTube. Inside the YouTube channel, you can put your comments in the chat, and it'll come straight here to the studio, and we'll get it out to the guys to answer your questions. So with that, Chris, I'm going to throw it to you, and we've got a question here from Jack. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up.
All right. Let's just pop the next one up. Neil, oh boy. Hey, Neil, what office supply themed mascot is best used to teach beginners about broadcast engineering?
I think this one's
there's
loaded.
Got to be.
I know.
There's a story
That's
here.
why I didn't tell you in the break that this was coming, because I knew there was a story that was tied to it.
Hey, buddy. So, Jack, because now I get to embarrass him because he's done it to me. So, Jack was one of my interns at the University of Florida and has since gone on to be a very successful sports technical director.
Okay.
So, when we were at Florida together, me and a buddy of mine, Blair Milko, who helped co-teach the intern program, we built a 10-week how to be a sports TV engineer curriculum.
All right.
And all of the illustrations we pulled Clippy in.
The Microsoft
Yeah,
Clippy?
for those of you that had a computer in the 90s.
Clippy so
Hey,
much.
I just looked it up. That was a New York Times bestseller, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
So the little paperclip would pop in on all of the different pieces of the thing. And it's like, it looks like you're trying to make a patch. Can I help? Like,
Nice.
And we thought we were hilarious. And Jack, Ryan, and the rest of the intern crew humored us for a number of years and let us have our fun. But it was a good time. It was fun.
So the answer is Clippy.
Clippy.
Clippy will teach you about broadcast engineering.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, there you go. The AI before AI was a thing.
Yeah.
So
I think the AI we have now is better.
much
take it. Yeah.
better, much better. So, Daryl, do we have another question there too?
Yeah, we do, brother Jake.
All right, let's see what we got. Jake Flock. When your hands are always on a console, how do you grow your team? You can't shake hands. So this sounds like, how do you meet people to recruit them to be volunteers? You're always on a console.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I think you and I are probably both in similar situations in this, that like I don't do those things anymore. You know, like I'm not on the console. I'm not doing the things. I have team members that we've built up to do these things, and what's crazy is when they're doing them better than you could be doing them. So there's a pride thing that has to go away there pretty quickly. You have to be able to not find your worth and your value in what you do on that console. And I see this a lot with a lot of different types of people. I think this happens a lot in the audio world because a lot of tech folks like us started, our life in audio, and that's where we've done the things, and it's great. And then to let somebody else take that so that you can back off and lead the team better, that's a difficult thing to do. But I would say the first step is to get your hands off the console. Mm-hmm. And that's the most difficult first step because it's scary. It's a little risky, maybe a lot risky. But it's not something that you do just without thinking about it. I've got a friend of mine who told this story about, and this is a common story. He went to go help this church out where the guy was saying, I'm having trouble recruiting volunteers and keeping volunteers. And he walked into the sound booth, and the guy had the soundboard, the graphics computer, and the lighting console, and the video switcher all pulled into one spot.
It was a one-man show.
Oof.
And the guy asked him, why is it like this? He said, well, if I can't trust the volunteers, I got to be able to run it myself. He said, well, step one is to separate all these out so that it is impossible for you to run it yourself, so that everybody can see this is necessary, because you're speaking volumes when you set up your situation like that, to where it's like, well, I've got to have control over all of this. And I know it's not that simple. You don't just simply move your stuff apart and now all of a sudden you're going to have volunteers. But if you can't overcome that initial pride and fear and the other things that come into it, you're never going to be able to take those other steps.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom there. You have to be willing to let it go and let other people participate. Yeah. That's not always a flip a switch and make it happen kind of thing.
Not, right.
So what comes to mind for me is, if you're in a season where you can't, work towards being in a season where you can go and meet, because your volunteers, you want to make sure that they feel valued and that they have an opportunity to serve, and that they are giving of their time to invest in the movement of your organization.
Right.
So you want to honor that, and you want to make sure that they have a place to serve and make sure that they feel valued. The other thing, and we do some of this, you can delegate some of that. So, a lot of times there are people that want to serve, but they aren't super technical.
Right.
But they love people.
Yeah.
And they'll take care of people and help you take care of people. And so, I would encourage you, see if there's somebody like that on your team that you can help tap to lead the way in the meantime, who can help meet people and introduce them and help get them onboarded, and help them know that they're loved and that they're a part of something. Because for example, I'm highly introverted. I am not the guy that you want out recruiting volunteers in the lobby after service, which is why we don't have me do that. We have some really great people on our team that handle that, right? And they're way better at it than I am, and it fills them up in a way that, you know, for me, it takes a lot of work because I'm just wired differently. So I would say, see if there's somebody on your team that can help you drive that, because I think you'd be surprised how willing people would be to help you make that investment.
Well, and part of that, like you were talking about, is just there's a culture that we have to create there, of a culture of that would make non-technical people comfortable coming into this. You know, one of the things that we always try and do when we're talking about volunteer recruitment is we're pushing the why. You know, we are, whenever you look at what we do for like our orientation stuff that we do, and even our first observation things, we're pushing all about hey, look what this ministry gets to do. If you're going to serve in this ministry, you are helping with worship environments. You are helping with the preaching. You are helping get the word out to the entire world, not only through our live streaming, but we have a television show, all of these things. So by the time they have heard about all of this stuff that we do, they're excited about it. And there are many times where I have people saying, hey, I really want to serve in this. It sounds amazing. I'm just scared of the technology.
Yeah.
And whenever you get those sort of folks, you know that you've done a good job of setting up this culture that says, hey, I'm not a big technology person, but I'd love to serve on the media team.
Yeah.
Which seems totally counterintuitive. Yep. The other part of that, too, is the idea of equipping the saints. You know, we were talking about this earlier this afternoon, but too many times I think the tech ministries kind of get put in this area of like, well, you're a support ministry. Yep. And yes, we do support a whole lot of things, but we are just as much of a ministry as any other ministry in the church. You look at what we're doing with actually creating worship environments, you know, I should say cultivating worship environments where we're setting the table for whatever is going to happen. We are executing things. We're getting streaming going out. We're doing all of that. On top of that, we have a team of volunteers that are part of the church that we are equipping to do this. And equipping the saints isn't an easy thing to do.
No.
You know, equipping the saints doesn't mean I'm going to go find people who already know how to run cameras and audio and everything and just bring them in. It's going to be awesome. It is, all right, we're going to have to generate some curriculum to teach these people who've never touched a camera how to run a camera or audio or lighting or whatever it may be. So we have to put in more effort than I think most of us realized when we first started doing this.
Oh, yeah.
That, okay, if I'm really going to equip the people in this church who want to serve, it's going to take a lot of work. And we're going to have to figure out how do we teach them and equip them to do this. So that may be more than that question wanted to know.
I think it goes a couple layers deeper.
Yeah.
But it's great. To your point of finding a volunteer to help recruit on your team, right? We had a gentleman at my church. He was a retired president of a mechanical company, and he just wanted to help out in some way. Not a technical bone in the man's body, but he wanted to see what we do in the worship arts side of things be successful. He's like, is there anything I can do to help? He's like, you know how to run ProPresenter? Can you push a space bar and count to 4? I kind of get lost around 2.5. All right, cool. No ProPresenter then. And that's the lowest barrier to entry, right? But he's like, can I help in any other way? It's like, actually, yeah. Can you go connect me with 6 new people that we can put in the rotation on stuff? I'll train them. You know, we can teach them and all that kind of stuff. He's like, yep, great. Because I mean, he had nothing better to. I shouldn't say that. It sounds terrible. He was retired, so he had.
This guy can't count to 4. He's got nothing better to do.
He's got nothing better to do with his life. But he was able to connect with people, you know, on Sundays, and then even throughout the week. Then, you know, do follow-ups and things like that. And you know, it was amazing. So, Jake, find that person.
That's huge.
Who can help you out in that. I think that might be a great first step for you. So. Yeah. Well, we have another question that's popped in while we've been chewing through Jake's question. We've got another one that's come up, and it is from Sean. How are you training your teams? Videos on demand like MXU, one-on-one with you, with another team member, something else. So, hey, Bryan, you just talked about equipping the saints. How?
This may or may not be a thing I'm passionate about, but Sean, it's all of those things. I don't think that any one of those things is a fantastic strategy on its own. I think you have to really combine all of those things. I ran into an issue a few years back where, like, one of my things when we've got a new volunteer who wants to come in, I don't want that person stepping foot into the control room to see what we're doing until they have gone through the orientation that I was talking about, which is explaining why we do what we do and getting them excited about it. So what I used to try and do is have, me in front of potential new volunteers in a meeting on a Wednesday night or something, and I would go through a little over an hour talking about it. And that's the way I would prefer to do it. But at some point, that limits the number of volunteers that you can get in. It's like, well, I can only do this once a month now, and we did it last week, so you're going to have to wait 3 more weeks before you can start with it. And that just doesn't work. So I ended up taking that hour-plus amount of information, boiling it down into a 10-minute video script. And I just, made a video, spoke to the camera, all those same things. My guys put graphics to it and stuff. It's still me, bringing the heart of this. Right. But that's a 10-minute video that's incorporated into a volunteer orientation form that they fill out digitally. And so they give us some info. They watch the video. They have to answer a few questions about the video afterwards to make sure they actually watch the video.
Love that.
And we get that in. So then from that point on, we've really realized that the digital aspect of this is going to not only streamline the training that we're doing, but it's going to make it more effective. Because if you just take one of your volunteers, I'm a big fan of using volunteers to train other volunteers.
Sure.
Yes.
And by the way, for anybody who's offended by the term volunteer, because there are a lot of people who do not care for that, at my church, it's not a problem. It's not a bad word. Our people understand what that means, and in fact, they wear that with a badge of honor. I understand that some churches, it's not. And I actually try and limit my use of the word volunteer and talk about team. Simply because if you're looking at an org chart, our volunteers are part of that org chart. Mm-hmm. We do not function without them. So anyway, that's kind of a sidebar. But we were having trouble making sure that we could get new people in the line of training, get them doing something quickly enough. So ProPresenter is a really great example. I mean, to learn ProPresenter, do you have to come to church and sit at our ProPresenter machine to learn it?
Nope.
I mean, the first 75, 80% of it, you can do at your computer at home, or even just watching all of Renewed Vision's training videos that we can use for training. Like, we don't have to create our own training videos. And then it's only at the end that you have to say, all right, now here's how we're going to use it in our particular thing. So we try and do that. We try and teach from the ABCs into words, into sentences, and so on, so that we're teaching them really good theory and really good foundations. So we're going to teach them on cameras, hey, these are all the terminology words that you need to know. Here's, how you do good composition, all that sort of stuff. And we use an LMS to do that, so learning management system. And the difference between a learning management system and just using like Google Forms or something like that is this is going to let you sign people up and then keep track of where they are. And so I can see anytime a new volunteer decides, hey, I'm going to dig into, shading a little bit and learn shading, I can see, hey, this person signed up for this course and here's where they are in it. It's important to have consistency in how you train them. And the digital aspect of that ensures it. Because then it's not up to just whichever person happens to be training that person.
Yeah.
They're getting all the same information. So that's a few of the things that I think about that.
Do you see the LMS, and this is just a sidebar that I have, do you see the LMS as an opportunity for a growth track for a volunteer? So maybe you've had a volunteer who's been involved for 6-8 months doing a particular thing, but you're like, I see something else here that I think you would be great at this.
Yeah. So there's two things about that. Number one, yes, the LMS lets you set, you can go as crazy as you want with it, so that you can have, all right, you got here. Now that you've gotten here, you've unlocked this, and you can go to this. The other part of that is I'm a huge proponent of taking whatever it is that you're trying to do and creating different levels for it. So for me, it was always difficult to teach lighting volunteers because being a lighting guy, I'm like, well, they just have to know everything. Right. And especially when I was at First Baptist Dallas, I didn't have a lighting guy. So I was programming lights during the week for 2 different venues, which was fun and that I got to scratch that itch, but there are weeks where it's like, I really don't have time to do this. But to get a volunteer to run those lights, it's like, gosh, it's just so overwhelming. I've got to teach them all this stuff. And I had to back up and say, hold on, what do I need a volunteer to do on Sunday morning? I need them to be able to hit go at the right time.
Yep.
And maybe modify a cue, you know, if, oh, the choir's not singing there, so the lights should be off or something. But like, other than that, that's all I need that person to do. So a level 1 lighting volunteer knows that. Then I can say, okay, if you like that and you want to do more, level 2, we're going to get into a little bit more programming, and maybe even a level 2 person could take a bunch of presets that I've already created and actually program a service, a simple service. And then level 3, all right, I'm going to turn them loose and they're going to take care of this for me. And you have people who are very happy at level 1, no interest in going any further than that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
So let that person do that because it solves what you need. But you know that you can't put a level 1 person on a concert that we're doing that has a lot of busking and stuff going on with it.
Right.
So the LMS helps with that, but you have to back up, and it's like we were talking about earlier, you've got to do the work and figure out, what do I need? From each position, what do I really need to have done here?
Right. So it's a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
Some LMS digital, it's some shoulder-to-shoulder time with you, and even with other volunteers, too.
Yeah, and really, the more that you can get your other volunteers involved in it, the better. I like to have a leadership crew, and so these are folks that they're going to put a little more work in. I have the leadership crew do all the scheduling. So each area has a leadership crew person. So cameras typically has like 2 or 3 or 4 people who are the leadership crew there. Graphics has somebody, shading has some, etc. And those people are responsible for doing all of the scheduling in PCO. So that's not on me. It's not even on a volunteer coordinator. It's on those people to do it. And they're also involved in the training. So I want them to have as much ownership as possible. And it also doesn't hurt that I'm not having to stress about the scheduling every week too.
Yep.
So the more that we can empower our team, whether it's paid or unpaid people, the better. And especially if you're a one-man or one-woman shop and you don't have a huge team like I do, all the more reason you've got to put some effort into this and empower these other team members to do this, because you can't. Not for long.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Not long term.
No.
Yeah, not at all. Neil, what's it look like at Christ Fellowship?
Yes, we leverage some similar tools, and I love how detailed you got with some of how you use your LMS and the different levels of training. I think the single biggest asset that we've found has been midweek rehearsal. So our worship teams rehearse Tuesday nights. So that does 2 things for us. One, it creates a offline safe space where we can bring in a volunteer and we can interact with the gear, and we can take some of those learning pieces and make them tangible, right?
Yep.
Like, we know you read about it, and you read the once over on shading, but here's what the joystick feels like, and here's how you tap to preview, and a safe space to put it into motion and really feel it. The other thing that does, we break bread together. So our production and worship teams come together have a quick dinner. It's usually Domino's Pizza or something.
Sure.
Something simple, but it's an opportunity for our worship team, our production team to kind of all come together for just a minute, spend time in community, and that has been huge from a culture building standpoint.
For sure.
But just to create a safe space where it's okay to make a mistake, which I think is really key. I think, like you mentioned, you had a lot of volunteers that want to serve but aren't necessarily super technical.
Right.
And those people need a safe space where they can try and learn.
You got to
and
figure that out.
Understand. And so bringing folks in midweek has been really, really key for us in being able to create those safe spaces.
That safe space thing is something that I think a lot of people miss.
Oh yeah.
I've missed it in the past. At Preston, we don't have a midweek rehearsal like that. So we have to find other ways to make those safe spaces. Sometimes that's, they've done their training up to a point, and now it's time, like, okay, it's different in real time. So we got to get you running the lyrics or running this camera in a real environment, but we don't want to put them in a situation where if they fail, it's a major big deal for both of us, right? We just can't afford that. So we will either find events or we will use a rehearsal on a Sunday morning to do that, and they're not going to operate for the actual service, but they're going to run for the rehearsal. The other thing that's been super helpful is just taking a previous Sunday service and playing back the audio.
Yeah.
And the whole team can operate in real time, but especially certain elements like TDs and graphics and some other elements, so that they can feel, okay, this is what it's actually going to do. Because we have to be able to judge how well they're doing based on can they do this in real life.
Yeah.
But finding those safe places is key, because to just take a volunteer and say, hey, yeah, show up about an hour before service starts. We'll kind of show you how this
we'll
works.
Crash course you through this real fast.
But I mean, I'm sure people listening are like, yeah, that's how I learned, or whatever. Yeah. That's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the people in the church who are going to experience the potential catastrophe that creates.
Yeah, nobody has fun.
No, it's not a beneficial thing. So we got to put the work in to figure out how to accomplish that in the right way.
Yeah.
Man, that was deep. You guys went deep on that question. Thank you. That was great.
I think
Sean, I hope
both
that
got
answers
experiences.
Yeah. It sounds like there's war stories and some scars there.
There are.
Sean, hopefully that answered that question and a whole lot more. So we've been rolling for about an hour. These guys need another cup of coffee and a bottle of water. So Daryl, I'm going to toss it back over to you and let these guys take a short break.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Hey, so for those of you that don't know, Chris and I have the honor to be part of the Chauvet Lighting family. And without the support of Albert Chauvet and our entire team, what we do here at Thought Leader just really couldn't exist. And so we want to first off say thank you. We are very honored and blessed to be able to have the opportunity to be able to drive this thing and have this conversation that we call Thought Leader. Our team, though, back at the Chauvet Lighting headquarters have been very, very busy, the entire team, creating some great new lighting products. And we just want to show you a few of those products right now, as well as a little highlight story.
Maverick ideas outperform expectations. Draw on Maverick Storm 1 Flex to release stunning textured looks. Send totally solid beams. And hit the deepest colors. Maverick Storm 1 Flex is a multifunctional LED powerhouse. No lamp, no hotspot. Only perfectly even output at every angle. Go flat out from the narrowest beams to the widest spots seamlessly with an advanced optical system that always projects a completely even field of light. Digital dimming that delivers the smoothest fades. and a CMY color mixing system that produces the boldest saturated reds. Maverick Storm is our family of lighter, brighter, stadium power moving heads built to rugged IP65 standards. That not only throws the brightest beams, crispest spots, but also shapes the softest gobos. Outperform expectations with the Maverick Storm 1 Flex.
Hi, my name is Zach Scott. I'm a freelance LD and programmer, and I'm here shooting the Maverick Storm 1 Flex commercial. Through the years of hybrid and flexible units being on the market, it's always been that question and that answer of, it's just not there, but I think we actually have something at this point in terms of all of the features. Hotspots has always been a big topic, especially amongst hybrid and flexible type fixtures. And the smooth, even spread across an LED source has also been, something that we've been waiting on. So look no further, because this optics range is absolutely everything. And the size of the lens itself is a tribute to how smooth you can get with the output. A few of the main highlights being the color, the saturation, and actual deep red compared to some other fixtures. Another big win is the full use of the optics lens and getting a fat full beam, whereas most other fixtures are only using 50% of that optics lens. The gobo selection is absolutely stellar. Most other fixtures, there's a solid 20 to 30% of gobos that are just not great, that I'm not going to use. With this fixture, I could have a use for every single gobo. We've had LED for quite a while now, and it's the same type of thing where, through the years, it's just not there. But in terms of the dimming capabilities on this light, I think we're reaching new heights. We're reaching new things that we haven't seen yet. So I would urge anybody that is interested to take a look at this in real life. With the way that the profile is laid out on the desk and with how everything is mapped, it makes layering things extremely easy. So we've got multiple gobo wheels, we've got an animation wheel. All of that can be combined in different ways to create, a plethora of different looks and custom combinations. So it's extremely fast to create even just a simple, incredible look, all the way up to something that we've worked on for a half an hour. When I first saw this fixture a month and a half ago, in a demo, I was blown away, and I haven't been blown away like this in a long time. Every box is checked off on my list for a flexible fixture, and that's never happened. I've already told multiple vendors, multiple other LDs that they need to look at this fixture. It's going to be a mainstay for sure.
Unplug, blend in, and turn up the color like never before with the Well family of wireless event LED luminaires. Advancements that build on the Well combination of portability, durability, and creative control. New RGB warm white LED sources that bring significant improvements in quality of light, from redesigned optics that deliver increased lumen output and outstanding beam collimation. High CRI light accurately renders skin tones, making Well fixtures ideal for any rental package. Run your show with DMX or wirelessly with RF or CRMX control. Bring new decor matching accessories, new mounting and diffusion possibilities, and an all-new Well Connect FX app that brings built-in RDM and a host of new capabilities. If you're going to do it well.
All right, welcome back. Ryan, by the way, hot dog is a sandwich, so we'll put that there. Anyway, conversation while we were at break there. So yeah, we want to say thank you again to Albert Chauvet and the entire Chauvet family. What we do here at Thought Leader just could not happen without them. And if you are interested in Thought Leader Connect, go check us out at tl-connect.com. There's information there. We do host mentor circles that happen every other week, across about a 19-week period throughout the year, and 19 weeks throughout the year, I should say, on an every other week rhythm. Small groups for church production folks. So if you or you know someone that served within church production that's looking to build community and share ideas and collaboration with other folks that serve in other churches, check out tl-connect.com. And so with that, fellas, we have another question here, and I'll bring it up. We'll pass it off to Chris. And
let's check it out.
Brother Sean.
Brother Sean, with limited budget and functioning but poor equipment, do you update the system at a time? Oh, one system at a time, or everything all at once, but lots of sacrifices, and how? So you don't have the budget to do everything all at once. So do you systematically do the best gear you can afford? I totally have an opinion on this, but I'm interested to hear yours. You systematically do a piece at a time, or do you get everything all at once and make some sacrifices along the way to do the big package? Neil, you're chomping at the bit, I can tell.
Is on.
There he
there
is.
It is.
Sorry.
I was like, I don't hear myself anymore. It's scary. So my answer to this is always start with infrastructure before you start
Preach.
shopping for bells and whistles. That looks different for every discipline. But the best investment you can make is an investment that continues to serve you for 10 years.
It's good stewardship.
That's not always the perfect answer, and I understand that. But I think whenever you have the option to set yourself or the people that are going to go after you a good foundation, that is the right answer. And if that means holding off on bells and whistles until later, then that is the right answer. That is not the fun answer.
Right.
But that is, especially when you're stewarding someone else's dollars, that for me has always been kind of the guiding focus.
I want to ask a question real quick on that, guys.
Yeah.
Because I think that is absolutely, I 100% agree with you. How do you have that conversation with leadership that doesn't understand that wants the bell and whistle and gave you the money for that?
I've never had
You're
that
welcome.
experience.
You're welcome. Oh, you've never had that.
I've
Yeah.
had the
Okay.
opposite, which is, you tech guys always want the bells and whistles.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never had that experience. I would almost love to have that experience, but I think either way, it comes back when you're talking about infrastructure. I think it also comes back to, and the key in the question is functioning but poor equipment. So we're treading water, but we're okay. Everything has to start with design, because so I was asked at one point a few years ago. We just redid everything at the same time.
Oh wow!
And I do not recommend that.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good for the church to take a financial hit like that. It's not good for your, your life,
Mental and emotional well-being.
emotional, physical, even
physical
well-being.
too, yeah.
It's not good to have to handle all that at once. But when we started having issues with the video gear specifically, we ended up having to replace the switcher first because it died. So we didn't have a choice. Now, fortunately, we had done enough research to know what we were going to get no matter what. So the switcher we could plug in and everything was going to be okay. But then I was asked, okay, well, what else could die? And I said, well, as we've been talking about, everything.
All of it?
Yeah. There is nothing in here that I come in on Sunday and don't pray over, because any of it could go. And I was asked, well, what would be the worst thing? I said, well, if the router dies, then
There's nothing.
We're out of luck.
Yeah.
We might could piece something together to make an image happen, but we're out of luck. And the question was, okay, well, how much is that? And I said, okay, time out. So it could be anything. Here's what we need to do. We need to decide who, and we've already decided, but we need to get with this company over here that is going to be our integrator, or perhaps you're doing it all internally, whatever it is, and we need to work on a design.
Comprehensive design.
Comprehensive master planned
Yes.
type design.
Yep.
So that we know how much we're looking at needing to spend. We know what the gear is, so that if the router does die and we need to replace it immediately, we're not spending money that we're going to have to re-spend later on because we got the wrong thing. And it's going to allow us to look at that comprehensively and understand, okay, is this what we want to do? Is this going to move things forward? And a lot of times the question comes back, well, you know, how much is it going to cost? Well, this is how we're going to figure out how much it could cost. But then once we know that, we can say, but that's too much. So let's back off on these things. Let's redesign it like this. Let's phase it. This is where you can have all those conversations about what is it that the church can actually do at this point in time. In our case, it was looked at and they said, well, we're just going to do it, which shocked me, but we did. Other churches might look at that and say, okay, well, we can't do all of that now, so what would be the best way to phase it? Well, because we've designed it, we know what the best way to phase it is. So if you're using an integrator, a lot of times it's worth spending a little bit of money with them to say, here's what we want to do. We want to pay you a little bit to design this for us so that they're bought in and they're actually doing real design work and not just kind of, you know, pulling stuff out of their back pockets.
Right.
And then you have real data that you can work with at that point. So the infrastructure, the design, that's what allows us to spend the church's money the right way, because the good stewardship is not just buying the least expensive thing.
Correct.
Good stewardship is spending the right amount of money on the right things that are going to get us where we've decided we want to go as a church.
That right there will preach.
Yeah. I try.
Yes, sir.
I feel strongly about it.
That's good. Many
No,
of
it's
us
great.
agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes good stewardship is spending less money. You know, our North Campus didn't need the same things that our Plano campus did. So would I have preferred to have done the type of router and multi-view and everything that I did at Plano? Yeah, but it's just not necessary.
Right.
So it's going to be fine. So we can do this here.
Yeah.
I'll stop because I could go on for quite some time.
I love it. You touched on I think a key part there, and that's as you're having conversations with leadership. I think one of the keys to this is this conversation has to start from a place of trust with your leadership.
Yeah.
Because
it's hard.
It's your job as the production person to know and understand all of these pieces. And it's not your leadership's job. And
Right.
so in most cases, when you're having these conversations, you're talking to people that don't have the context you have, that
Right.
don't have the experience you have, because that's why they have you.
Mhm.
And so I think cultivating a relationship of trust with your leadership, so that when it's time to have conversations that are hard because gear is dying, or conversations that are hard because they involve dollar figures that are a little scary, you know, and that any dollar figure can be scary. Having that trust built ahead of time, like when you take on a project like that, that is not the time to start building that trust.
Yeah, it's too late.
You have to have that built ahead of time so that when difficult conversations like that come up, you know, hey, my leader's going to try to understand where I'm at, and we're going to work together to build what's best to help move our ministry forward as a team.
No, that's important. The trust thing is hard because, first of all, the things I can control, you know, have I been faithful in the little things?
Yeah.
You know, so does my church business administrator see that I'm working on my budget each month and I'm actually tracking stuff before the church's system even knows that I've spent it, you know? So that when it comes to the bigger stuff, that trust exists. The other hard thing is we as a people of tech directors around the country and around the world get a bad rap, a lot of times deservedly so.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of men and women out there who do what we do, who don't make decisions based on good stewardship or on what's best for the church or any number of good things. They're making it based on what they saw somebody else do.
Yep.
Which is the worst.
Drives me nuts.
They're basing it on this is cool, so there's a cool factor, or they're basing it simply on, okay, we've got this project and now this is my baby, and once again that pride comes into it of, all right, I'm going to design this thing, and I have learned from mentors in my past, good and bad. One of the bad things being, when you turn this into something that is my thing and you don't involve a whole bunch of other people in it, there's going to be issues. So on these projects that we did, man, I was not in a meeting by myself with an integrator ever, because, if I've got an opinion on something, I'm going to make sure they know what it is, but my team are the ones who need to be putting their opinion in. The integrator, who we're paying money to help design this thing, they do this all the time. So what do y'all think? Like, I need your input on this too. But because of that, because there are so many people who don't operate that way, you got to remember, pastors, executive pastors, worship pastors, they all talk to each other.
Yep.
They do.
They do.
And those bad stories spread very quickly.
Yes, they do.
So we already have an uphill battle in that. I've experienced that personally in a number of different ways. But for those of y'all that are listening to this, man, if you're maybe a younger person who's coming into this, or maybe you're somebody who's been doing this for a long time and you're like, I know what I'm doing, man, pray about that and allow the humility of the Holy Spirit to come in and maybe convict you of what that is. And I know that to some people, maybe that sounds strong. I'm not going to ask for stories, but I know that guys who do what y'all do in the world of manufacturers and that sort of thing, you guys see the worst of what happens in church.
We see both ends of the spectrum.
I know
we see
you
the
do.
best, and we get
I know
to see
you do,
some pretty
but
terrible
I know
stuff
you
too.
get y'all see some terrible things, and it is heartbreaking to me that people who are put responsible for the things that we're responsible for in a church, which includes the gear, it includes the people, it includes a whole bunch of things, the money, are not taking that with the weight that God puts on that.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, it's disappointing, it scares me for those people, because, I mean, you look at what God did to certain people, even in the New Testament, who didn't do what they were supposed to do with their money.
Yeah. Well, and Neil hit it on the head when you remember that this is other people's money.
Yeah.
This is money that has been gifted to the organization, and it's our job to steward it. See, stewardship doesn't mean spend as little as possible. Stewardship means
spend the money wisely.
Spend the money the best way you can with this thing that
Absolutely.
you've been given. So absolutely agree with everything you just said.
Okay, good.
And there's so many sound bites that are probably going to wind up on social next week. But I think we've got our last question actually teed up.
Yes,
Daryl, what do
sir.
we have over there?
Sweet Pete.
Brother Pete.
Ooh.
What is a current trend in production or church you are excited about? And what is a trend you pray stops?
Oh, boy.
This is a good one to land the plane on.
Yeah,
I
this
think.
is a great one to finish
I hope
up
you got a
with, I
long
think.
runway.
It's a jumbo coming in for Brian.
Oh, I have so many thoughts.
I've got some problems
What's
with
a
you
cur-
people.
I'm trying to find one that's helpful.
Well,
I'll start with a good one.
Yeah, let's start with
Yeah,
something you're
here's a good
excited
one.
about. What are you seeing that you're
Positive,
loving?
positive trend. I am super excited about immersive audio in church. And we recently, 2 years ago, went to an immersive audio system in our room. And what it is capable of doing for the worship environment is just phenomenal. The downside is you can do stupid things with it. So you do have to be careful and really be thoughtful with it. But what it adds to the worship environment is tremendous. And I do believe that it is the future of live audio systems, partly because anybody who's watching or listening to anything on an iPad or an iPhone that's using earbuds, you're listening to immersive audio. And so people are already getting used to that feel and that idea of how that comes across. So to be able to do that in a live environment is huge. We just have to be careful with it.
Right. You mean it's not fun to put the snare drum behind everybody?
Oh, you can do it.
You can.
You can do it.
But it doesn't mean you should.
I mean, we can't fix stupidity, but it's what in our example, to be able to add some vocal tracks to the speakers that go a little bit further up the room that encourages congregational singing and involvement. I mean, really, we're trying to do everything as immersive as possible. We've got the lighting pulling the things that are happening on the stage are now happening in the room as well, so that it's not this divide between the stage and the room. The audio is doing the same thing. The cameras are now able to be in positions where you've got different perspectives. So I think immersive in general, at the risk of turning it into just some sort of word that we start throwing around, for the church, it's an up-and-coming thing that is really taking hold in a good way.
Yeah. Not just in audio, but in other ways
everything.
too. Yeah, for sure.
That was a great answer.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
I was glad. I something negative immediately popped into my head, and then I got stuck on it. So I was really glad that you had come up with something positive to say.
Well, tell us about that.
Oh, great. A trend that I would love to see stop, and I'm gonna pick at this lightly because I don't want to get hung out to dry on the internet here. But
remember, what goes on the internet lives forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But there is a trend that I'm seeing more and more of where I'm seeing people over automate things. And there's a particular device that I don't care for a ton that's kind of at the heart of some of that. I'm talking about a Stream Deck.
I was trying to come up with some rhymey name to call it, but we'll just call it. It's a Stream Deck.
I think the Stream Deck is a fantastic tool when used properly. We have,
to be clear, we're using one right now
this
tonight.
Show. Yeah,
there's one right over there.
Our graphics are in and out with a Stream Deck. So I think it's a fantastic tool when you use it the right way. What I am seeing a lot of is people that are trying to automate their entire experience to a Stream Deck. And I think you miss out on a lot of opportunities. I think you open the door to a lot of chaos.
Absolutely.
You miss out on a lot of opportunities to train and involve people in what you're doing. Because really, you have two options. You can either train people how to use the automation you built, or you can teach people how to use gear. And if you teach them how the gear works, when something changes or when something goes wrong, those people are equipped to continue to serve and continue to flex with you. If you only teach them how to use the automation, then when something changes, they have to come find you because they're not equipped to make the change.
There's not a button for that.
Right. And I'm seeing a lot of that, and it's like I get it. Like automation, like I am my own. I'm talking to myself here because like automation is cool. Like it's really cool to push one button and have 10 things happen. Like I get the appeal. It's super cool. It's just not super conducive and helpful when you look at it within the scope of what we're trying to do on a Sunday and the experiences of what we're trying to create. So I don't want to hate on that tool because I do think that, there are times where it can be used effectively to help people go further faster. I'm just seeing a lot of overuse and overreaching of not just Stream Deck, but just automation in general that I don't think is helpful to equipping us to get where we need to go.
I think we have to be careful with how far we dumb things down. I was at a particular church that I had just started at, and there was a lady running the switcher who had been running it for like 15 years. And it was my very first day, and I'm just kind of observing, watching things, and they're all doing their thing. And it's at some point between services, I went up to her and said, "Hey, tell me what's coming out of aux 13 or whatever." And she just looked at me like, what? I said, what? The auxiliary, what's coming out of the auxiliary? She said, I don't know what that is. I've just been told to push these buttons when I'm supposed to. And that's a huge disservice to our people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, do they need to know the ins and outs and, how to build every macro and all this sort of stuff? No. But they need the confidence to understand that the reason I hit this button is because of this. And when I hit it, here are the things that happen. So that I've got confidence when the director quickly tells me to do something, I know, all right, I'm going to do it. And I think this concept of the Stream Deck, and there's a bunch of other devices that are kind of helping with this too. While it can be convenient, and sometimes you need something that's kind of dummy proof, somebody walks in a room and this turns these things on, that's great. But to try and automate a whole bunch of things with it, right tool for the right job. That's the thing.
Well, and I think the right place too. So a classroom environment comes to mind.
Sure.
Use QSys or whatever your automation of choice is to automate a classroom so that somebody that's not super technical can walk in, turn on the displays, and get a picture up. Great use of automation. But that doesn't mean that that's great. That doesn't mean that I want to take that into my main auditorium and try to force fit my experience into the 10 buttons that I can build in my automation.
I just have to tell you guys real quick. I'm not going to throw this up, but one of our buddies, Derek Robertson, he just sent into the chat. He said, watching this and doom scrolling and a church bragging about how they use their Stream Deck popped up. So there you go. Straight to your point.
See, the algorithm found this already.
Oh, boy.
It's going to work against us.
I thought that was great.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for sitting down and having this conversation, answering the questions that were coming in. I've really enjoyed it, digging into some of these topics with you guys. So, Daryl, I am going to toss it back over to you to go ahead and wrap things up for us.
All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, it's appreciate you guys so much. What a great conversation. We've had a blast here. As we're kind of leaving, I want to just remind you, if you or anyone that you know that serves in the church production community, if you're looking for an opportunity on how to connect with other folks that do what you do and build community and collaborate and sharing of ideas, check out our website. It's tl-connect.com. We do 2 different sessions of what we call mentor circles, which are essentially small groups for those people that serve in church production. We do it on an every other week rhythm, 9 sessions per kind of season. So we do that twice a year. We stay away from your holidays for the most part. We do kind of hit the Easter time period. However, we make sure that you have plenty of time to focus on services and everything there at home. But it's a great opportunity where we get together for 1 hour. It's free. As Chris likes to say, it's free 99. There you go. The price has been paid. Chauvet covers all the expenses. I want to say a special thanks again to Albert Chauvet and our entire Chauvet family for all that you do to support what we do. Actually, one of our colleagues, Ford Sellers, is here in the studio with us tonight. And so, Ford, thanks for all of your help here. And also want to say thanks to Ryan. He's one of our videographers. He can't get him on a screen right now. And Jeff Watkins for helping us produce this event. And with that, we do have another one of these scheduled for September 15th. So if you want to put that on your calendar right now, we'll be putting some promotions out 2 or 3 weeks before. But make sure to bring your questions. We just want to be a resource to come into your device, into your computer, into your home, and allow you to ask us questions and have a little bit of a conversation here. And with that, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And as we always say here at Thought Leader, work hard, stay humble.